Hi, Hammy.
Okay, hi everyone. Sorry about that little blip. This is Allison, Zuzu and Indy on the chat, and she's going to re-explain to us what Olive's condition was that necessitated the surgery. She did this yesterday, but the sound quality wasn't very good in front of the vet's office.
Hammy.
So she's holding Mikey on her lap, and Hammy is being Hammy. So take it away, Allison.
Hello. I hope everyone's having a good evening. I'm apparently being a snack for Hammy right now. You're my buddy, and I'm holding Mr. Mikey, who's feeling much better. Could you please stop that? Okay, that's enough. All right, so here we go. I'm not a vet, but I do teach human anatomy, and the dog heart and the human heart are very similar. And actually, a lot of the heart surgeries that we do on humans were based on surgeries that were done on dogs originally. And so the surgery that they did on Olive was actually a surgery that was pioneered to save children, and fortunately now we can also use that to save dogs. And so, thank you, Mikey. And so what we're going to talk about is a little bit about heart anatomy and our lungs, and then we'll talk about what happened with Olive. So your heart has two really important jobs. One is to send blood to the lungs, and the other is to send blood to the rest of the body. So the right side of your heart sends the blood to your lungs so your lungs can get oxygen and can get rid of carbon dioxide. Then the blood leaves the lungs and goes to the left side of the heart. Hammy's being taken away from me. The blood goes to the left side of the heart, and then it's going to be pumped out to the rest of your body. And the rest of your body needs the oxygen in order to make the energy necessary to do things like what little Mr. Mikey's doing right now. So the way that we send our blood to our lungs is through a large blood vessel called the pulmonary artery. So that sends blood from the right side of your heart to your lungs. And then the large vessel that sends blood to the rest of your body is called the aorta. And when you're in the womb, for you, a dog, or any other mammal, you don't need to be breathing. So you don't need to send a lot of gas to the lung, or a lot of blood to the lungs, because you don't need to do gas exchange. Usually what happens when you're in the womb is that just enough blood gets sent to your lungs to keep the lungs nice and healthy so they can develop while you're sitting there developing in your mother's uterus. And so there's this little passageway called the ductus arteriosus that connects the pulmonary artery and the aorta. And what this does is it makes sure that just a little bit of blood goes to the lungs, but most of the blood goes to the body to keep the baby nice and healthy so that it has plenty of energy and ability to grow. And all this works because the blood supply and the oxygen is coming to the baby through the mom's placenta. Now what happens is as soon as you or a mammal comes out of your mom when you're being born, you take that first breath, and that breath actually changes the way blood flows throughout those large arteries. So what's going to happen is that the ductus arteriosus that connects the aorta and the pulmonary artery has to shut down because you now need to send lots of blood to your lungs to do gas exchange, and you need to make sure that the blood that's going to the body has lots and lots of oxygen. And so usually when you take that first breath and then your mom's umbilical cord is cut, is that ductus arteriosus takes and it goes from this big to that big. And it basically becomes like a string holding the two big blood vessels together. And this is a fantastic thing to happen because now the blood goes to the lungs. When you breathe, you get oxygen and you get rid of carbon dioxide. And the blood is going to leave the lungs and then go out the aorta after it passes to the left side of the heart. And it's going to feed the rest of your body. But unfortunately in Olive and other little children who are born with congenital heart defects, or at least this specific defect, what happens is that the ductus arteriosus doesn't close. So instead of going from this to that, it stays wide open. And now not enough blood is actually going to the lungs to keep the body healthy. So you can't do enough gas exchange. And this is called a patent ductus arteriosus, which means that patent means that the ductus arteriosus is still open when it's not supposed to be. And this causes heart failure because now the heart has to work even harder in order to circulate oxygen to the lungs and to the rest of the body. And that's exactly what was happening with little Olive. She was getting something called pulmonary edema, which is the buildup of fluid within the lungs, and left ventricular hypertrophy, which means the left side of her heart was getting bigger than it needed to be. And you know, you might think, well, having a big heart is fine, but it actually isn't because it doesn't allow blood flow to go through the heart properly. And so Olive not only had not enough blood going to her lungs, but she was also developing a heart murmur. So what the doctors went in and did is they actually opened up Olive along her side. They went in with little surgery instruments and they actually closed down the ductus arteriosus. And so literally they took and they sutured, they sewed it shut, and now the right amount of blood is going into Olive's lungs. She can get enough oxygen to her body, and the heart doesn't have to work as hard anymore because everything is flowing in the right direction. So the goal now is just to let Olive grow and rest and recover and be nice and happy and healthy and spoiled rotten like Mikey here. And what's going to happen over time is that Olive is going to grow, and as she grows and as her blood flow goes normally, her heart's actually going to recover, and the heart murmur she still has is actually expected to go away. We call that resolving itself, which means it's going to fix itself. And so basically what we're doing for the next 10 to 14 days is giving Olive antibiotics because she did have surgery, so she's got an open wound here and here from her chest wound, and so we need to make sure that that doesn't get infected. And she needs to rest to let all of the scar tissue from her surgery develop, so that and the suture that's holding that ductus arteriosus closed is going to make sure that it has a nice healthy seal so that whoever gives Olive her forever home is not going to have to worry about that surgery potentially opening up again or having problems with blood flow anymore. And fortunately, the prognosis for the dogs who have these surgeries is very good. We're expecting Olive to have a really nice strong recovery. She's going to have to go to a cardiologist every once in a while just to check her heart for that murmur, but hopefully she's going to lead a long active life just like any other terrier, or what are we calling her? Terrier, because she's a little bit of a terror. Yeah, she's a little hyper, and so that's what we're hoping for Olive. And we really thank you guys for pulling together and getting us the donations to let Olive have her surgery in such a pinch, because to be able to raise the type of money that we just did so she could have that open heart surgery so quickly, that really is just absolutely amazing. So we want to thank you for that. And Mikey wants to thank you for that because also look how cute and fat and happy he is. He would not be this happy and healthy without your all's help because, as you know, Mikey came in with some pneumonia and no meat on his bones, and he was very, very tired from respiratory infections. And now he's just a happy, healthy little fellow. And hopefully you'll get to see Olive turn into a happy, healthy little girl over the next few weeks.
Thank you, Allison. I'm going to ask people if they have any questions, so we'll stay on cam for a minute.
I'm not qualified to give medical advice. I work on the dead.
Well, I would come to you, though.
Hopefully
you're like
dead.
A shaman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shaman. And here comes Hammy again.
Yes.
Hammy loves her Auntie Allison because I champion the hyper dogs who need a little extra care.
And training.
Yes, Hammy needs training, but someone, look at this face. You want to take her home. I'm sorry. My bad. What are you doing? Give me 5? No. No 5?
Okay, no questions, so we're going to wrap it up, and thanks, everybody.
Say thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Bye-bye.